Hello and welcome at next episode at Stocks Advisor channel. Today we will talk about Wipro LTD traded at New York Stock Exchange, ticker name WIT. Well, WIT is actually showing almost before opening a very small white candle, actually almost doji with very small shadows, actually no shadows, almost an upwards direction, and it's sitting just on the top of moving average 20 here. So the question is now, what's the future for WIT and where it can go, and if we want to make our trade, where we should enter and what should be, let's say, levels we should be avoiding. So to understand this, let's do a quick analysis for WIT. WIT actually is doing quite well. Fine, 5 months actually almost. You can see clearly there are two upwards movements here. There was one trend took place in May, June, July, and then actually another one, the faster track, slightly faster tracks that started somewhere from 10th of July is taking place now, and actually it's kind of an upper track, meaning that moving average 20 is used as actual support line here. By the way, we have three moving averages depicted. It's moving average 20, 50 and 200 being green, blue and red lines correspondingly. So what we see here is that although the trend, let's call it T1, that mainly followed moving average 50 is used as a main trend, and it was confirmed many times with the waves, especially in the beginning of June, July, but then we went to a higher trend, high upward movement using moving average 20 now as support line and bouncing from it. And usually for this kind of trends with elevated movement, when you actually go above the general trend line and sitting on moving average 20 as support line, at a certain moment the breakage of the trend takes place, and that's exactly what happened actually about 20th of October, where we can clearly see that the price from moving average 20 didn't rebound and then pierced further towards actually moving average 50 here, and the green line T1, the trend line, also supported by the fact that we were sitting at the moment at the volatility level, although quite weak one, the volatility level of the previous waves, let's call it V1 line. So from there the rebounds took place again, but usually as it happens in the broken waves, the rebounds was not really consistent, and we have a broken wave here. So the later wave that started at the beginning of November is now broken, and the broken wave means that the wave goes up like this and then breaks, so resembles kind of sharky back shape. A normal wave usually goes up and then corrects normally, almost actually being almost symmetrical. Examples are, for example, in October, you can see in June, July, so all these waves are symmetrical waves, and this wave is broken, the latter one, because it went up and now did like this. Then what we usually see is the standard half recovery or semi-recovery, when the broken wave tries to recover but usually never reach the previous top, and that's exactly what we see here. Now the question where it will go. Well, there are two possible scenarios, of course. One thing is that we might have opening of the new downward channel, the brown one, let's call it R1, and if this is the case, we still might be volatiling upwards till we see that level R1, or even a little bit higher. We might slightly pierce it until we go to this resist line here, let's call it R2 line, and actually it's quite resisty area now. So if this is happening, if we don't pierce higher than R2, it would mean that the upwards trend is killed and we will observe a major correction. So the first scenario is if we don't go higher than R2, so if R2 is cancelled, then the correction will start. The second scenario is actually if R2 is pierced upwards, and we also then the next stop will be the top at the level of about 5.4 plus, and this will work also as a resist line here, but then let's say up to 15-20% trade can be made if you are already entering the price. So if we go there and we pierce it further, then we reconfirm again T1 trend. If not, maybe another, let's say, volatility will start between the levels of R1, V1, and this will be the trade. So the second scenario, if R2 is pierced, but let's call the red dark line R3, but R3 is not, then actually it means that we are going to play in the channel of R3, V1. And the first scenario here would be if we immediately pierce downwards, so we pierce T1 already. So if T1 is pierced, then the major correction can start, and then we will need to look at where we can enter here. If this is the case, then the next support lines are actually at about 460, and then lower line is a little bit higher, would be in the area of 440, and then the rest, let's draw them, although not given we go that low. It could be 4. In general, this stock is a bit risky in a sense that it can give major corrections, because we don't need to forget about this gap that took place in July. It was rise with a jump, and it means that in general standard elevation that took place there could be forming general decrease of the price as well. So if this is going to happen, so if the first scenario takes place, so if we go for major correction here, so first scenario, then the first entry would be advised. Let's call the lines here would be S1, S2 and S3. And the first entry would be advised in the channel of S1, S2, and average down anything below S3 and moving average 200. And then it's advised to buy actually with strategy 1 to 2, meaning you buy with one portion and then you average down with 2 portions. If this is happening, this would be very severe action for WIT, and then it would be just a bounce play rather than real reversal. But if scenario 1 takes place or 2, it would be a nice, let's say, play here. Therefore, if you like scenario 1 or 2 approach, you can also start entering somewhere in the vicinity of actually T1, so already on the current price, could be advised also to enter, but with a very small portion. Let's say if this would be 1 and 2 portion, this one you can say at 0.5, or actually also 1 you can do with 1. So 1, 1, 2 strategy here is advised to enter, and be very cautious. If price really goes to the scenario 3, you should be patient to average down. With this stock is a bit tricky but reversive, and could give in any scenario, if you play it carefully, from let's say 10, 15 to 30%, depending from where you enter and how you play. Currently, that's it for WIT. Also, do not forget to subscribe to our channel if you didn't do so already. This way you will not miss our new videos and new interesting discussions for US-based markets.